Hey fellow Trek Chatters, I'm Pit Trekkie and welcome to another episode of Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. So for today's episode, what I'm going to be doing is reviewing the 6th episode of the Star Trek Con audio podcast entitled The Good of All. So at the beginning of the episode, we have Sulu and Tuvok basically talking about Dr. Lear, trying to figure out what her motives are of why she's pushing so hard for Kirk to be looked at as this person who hurt Khan and his colony and sentenced them to death. Now Tuvok feels that he's actually he encourages and really likes the perseverance that she has, and he actually calls it impressive. And Sulu's trying to figure out what are her motives, and so he wants Tuvok to actually go into her personal logs and kind of keep track of her. And and Tuvok agrees, but he's not exactly sure what the whole purpose of this is. Now we're going to get back to that section later on in the story and in this review. So then we go back to day 208 of the exile on Ceti Alpha 5. So Khan is we're hearing Marla talking about how after they saw these underground caverns that Delmonda had led him to, Khan's still suspicious of the motives of Delmonda, and Marla tries to say, well, why don't we set up a meeting? And it took 4 days, but Khan actually finally invited Delmonda to personally come to their camp. And so Khan basically asks Delmonda, and he doesn't trust him really at this point. He doesn't want to let his guard down. He's also asking if they can read and take their thoughts at will. And he said that they can, but he's not willing to do that yet. There are a lot of blocks basically in Khan's mind. A lot of it having to do with trust, distrust, things of that nature. So Khan shares a nice dinner with them. They have fish, potatoes, even introduces them to vodka. It treats them to some of the berries, which will be going extinct here soon. And what they talk about is how long can they survive in the caves. And Delmonda said that Khan and his people can survive for about 5 years underground. Then they're going to have to start finding additional resources to try to stay alive. He actually also asks if Delmonda is going to contact Elboria for help. And he says no, that he and his people left their homeworld a long time ago. And he says that basically he feels that the society there was not following their values, and so they left on their own. And he introduces Khan to what's called the Pandem. It's the collection of their minds that actually gives them that telepathic power and their strength in numbers. He also said that their leadership fell on their homeworld, and that's why they went to seek a better world. Khan actually is surprised by this because he feels that that's the reason why he and his people ended up leaving Earth to start their own world, their own colony. So Khan agrees to share the world with Delmonda, but they have to focus on themselves. So Khan and his people are one thing, Delmonda and his people are another. Now, we also find out that the Elborians are moving into a cave system not too far away from Khan and his people. Ivan feels that they can't be trusted. He feels that there's an imbalance of power going on between the two groups. Marla feels that Delmonda has been true to his word thus far, especially with telling them where the caves and the underground water is. Ursula is kind of in the middle. She feels like they're being corralled by cattle, but she doesn't feel necessarily that they should be attacked yet. Khan does say to his people that he does believe Delmonda is hiding something, but he needs to remain on guard. He does want Ivan to follow the group and keep tabs on what's going on with Delmonda and his people. Now, during this time, there's a little side story going on with Erica. Erica and Joachim are actually at that sea they found underground, and they named it the Sunless Sea. And they're trying to trap sea life. Unfortunately, they're not able to. We find out here that Joachim is actually, for the first time, kind of doubting Khan. He's like, I don't really feel that he is who I thought he was, because these people stopped him with a thought. And he even bent Khan's sword. And Erica tries to reassure him, it may have bent, but it never broke. So, and kind of that's like an allegory to kind of, I guess, what's going on with Khan. Khan got defeated by Delmonda in this group, telepathy, but he didn't bend either. All right, so they said that the blade could be reforged. And Joachim says, I don't really know who I am at this point. And she says, you are the best fisherman that we have here on the planet, and you're the first to chart the sunless sea. Looks like a little romance is starting to develop between the two, because she even offers to kiss him again. He turns it down, but she does offer it. So, also during this time, while everybody's exploring the new caverns where they're going to reset their colony, they're trying to figure out how they're going to take everything from their bio lab and the bio beds and everything and fit them into the cave space that they have. Well, Mado, who is currently 8 weeks away from delivering the baby boy, knocks on a wall and hears that it's hollow. So she and a couple others try to go and actually break this wall down. So that's going on, and while that's happening, Ivan and Ursan are watching the Elborians actually moving a bunch of metal deep into the caves that they're going to be staying into, even though the caves in that area are very small. One of the people actually starts to enter Ivan's mind, and Ivan tells him to go away. He actually starts to go kind of crazy about this, and he and Hassan actually find an Elborian alone in the jungle, and Ivan goes and brutally murders this creature, down to stomping on his skull, just torturing him and relishing it and laughing in it. And he basically justifies it to the one he's killing by saying, this is revenge for what you did to Khan and for you entering our minds, bending our weapons, things of that nature. Okay. In the caves, we hear Khan and Marla talking a little bit about the importance of being able to trust Delmonda, and Khan actually says the words that he feels are the most dangerous words in the English language. We come in peace. Now, that gets paused for a moment, because while they're discussing a name for their child, their little girl, first of all, they start to smell sulfur, so they find an actual natural hot spring, which Marla really gets attracted to. But then they hear a cave-in happening, and they find out that Mado has been basically crushed by these falling rocks when they were trying to break down that wall. They return her to. Khan asks Marla to return to camp, but she gets lost. And what happens is Delmonda enters her mind and basically says that he feels he can trust her, and he wants to lead her not to the exit, but to Ivan. Apparently, they have captured Ivan after he had killed one of their people, and so that ends up getting paused briefly. What we find out in the camp when Khan returns to camp is that the baby died. Mado's going to survive, but the baby died. And Khan says, this was the first time that a human augment embryo has been carried this long, and you two can try again. Ursula goes nuts on him, starts yelling and screaming, "Are you out of your mind?" She doesn't understand why he would want them to bring a baby into this disaster of a world that they've now found themselves in. What's the point? Khan steps away for a little bit, and Ursula calms down. But that's very odd behavior. Typically, people don't challenge Khan. So we find out that Khan has been informed by, I believe it was Hassan, that Ivan has been taken. Marla arrives with Delmonda, and this is before Khan gets there, and Marla basically says, "What have you done to him?" He's basically essentially in a trance. And so Delmonda lets him out of this trance, and he basically gets angry about what happened and justifies the killing that he did. And Marla tells him, "You're never going to do this again." And Ivan says, "You don't tell me what to do." Marla actually stands up for herself and says, "I am Khan's woman. I get to tell you what I say." And he didn't really like that, and Delmonda ended up putting him back in a trance, feeling that he's not safe to go anywhere. So we also find out right before Ivan actually goes and gets back into his trance, he actually tells Marla that he found their weakness, that when they're not in a group and they're down to one or two people, they can't function with the telepathy to the extreme that it did when it bent their weapons earlier. And this has been getting hidden from Khan. All right. Marla tries to tell Delmonda that Ivan is not a true representative of Khan's people, and that they can be trusted. Now, he can still trust Marla, but he doesn't know who he can truly trust yet. All right. So Khan finally goes and sees Delmonda and says, "Why have you taken my lieutenant prisoner? And why is Marla here?" He was concerned about that. He asks, "Were you in her mind?" Basically trying to see if he was mentally taking from her. Khan was sent then to see if they were keeping the bargain. At this point, Khan is unsure if he would attack without cause, talking about Ivan. He wants Ivan, he was surprised to hear that Ivan had actually done this. And Delmonda says, do you want to see Ivan's boot print in his skull to prove this? Khan says, well, he's my person, I need to take him back to judge. Delmonda feels because Ivan is wronged, all of them, both groups, that he and Khan together should judge. And Khan says no. And Delmonda says, well, we need to maybe go our separate ways then. But at this point, Khan says fine, and Marla says no, but before anything else happens, Delmonda shows Khan a small craft that's being built. And Khan feels that they're building it so that they can leave SETI Alpha 5. And the episode with Khan ends where he says, no, we're building this for you and your people. Flash forward again to the present, where we're with Dr. Lear. All right, she calls Tuvok to her quarters, and she's really upset because she had trackers that was able to see if anybody was getting into her personal logs, and she found out Tuvok has been doing that. She said that she knows that he's under the captain's orders, and that he tries to tell her that her work is arousing suspicion, but he does feel that her work is valid in trying to see if Khan really wasn't the tyrant that he was, and actually admits to her that he feels that Sulu is actually being affected by the feelings he's had from Khan based on their experience. But he asks Dr. Lear point blank, how did you get these documents from the original Marla MacGyver documents? And she said that an alien named Delmonda actually came to her and gave her this information. Tuvok knows that Delmonda is the alien that actually came to SETI Alpha 5, obviously, and so the episode ends with the question, he escaped the planet, but how? And that's where it stops. So this was a very interesting episode. So we're starting to get some more building blocks of what's going to be coming in the next few episodes. So first of all, we're at day 208 of exile. And at this point we see that the colony is being moved to the caves that Delmonda gave to them. But at the same time, Delmonda and his people are setting up shop not too far away as well, which kind of makes Khan a little anxious, and it certainly makes Ivan frustrated, which is the reason why Ivan even went out and was exploring anyway. Khan ordered them to keep an eye on this group. All right. We're also finding out a little bit about the SETI Alpha 5 situation. So I don't know yet. It didn't say specifically what was going on the planet's surface itself at that moment. But we know now that the big sea that they found was called the Sunless Sea, and that they're only really going to be able to survive underground for 5 years with whatever botany techniques, whatever that they have. We also know that sea life, so far, as of now, has been non-existent. So that's got the colony up in some concern about what are we going to do for food, because the sea life has been a big source of our food. We also are continuing to see that Khan is in conflict with his style of rule. He still doesn't trust Delmonda, but he knows that he needs to try to have some sort of trust with him for them to mutually survive or to try to get away from the planet. He is very distrustful of generosity. He said that to Delmonda. And later on, he said to Marla, "We come in peace" is the scariest words or the most difficult words for him to hear in the English language. So the fact that he's even giving any trust to Delmonda at this point is really stretching him to his limit and testing all of all the instincts that he has known back on Earth when he was a tyrant. And obviously Marla has been a big part of this, trying to get him to look at things a little bit differently at this point in his life. We're not back on Earth anymore. We're trying to build a life here, and we're trying to survive. But it also got tested again when Ivan got captured, and the fragility of their alliance actually nearly broke. Delmonda was willing to let it go. Khan was willing to let it go because Khan wanted to try Ivan himself. That's his person. That's his lieutenant. And Delmonda said, no, that's not agreeable. He wronged us too. We should all come together and judge his fate. And the only thing that really stopped it at that point was them finding this ship and Delmonda saying, we're building this for you, not us, at this point. Now, speaking of Ivan, we're definitely starting to see him becoming a little bit more unhinged. And he's justifying breaking Khan's rules and laws and orders by trying to protect him and defend him. And we're going to probably see in the next episode how shaky that ends up getting, because he keeps challenging Marla. He's now defying Khan openly. he's killed somebody, which could forge, break this alliance that they have going on that's very fragile. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes at this point. We also find out that there are safety in numbers, essentially, when it comes to Delmonda and his people. Okay, so that's where leads me to more of what we're learning about the Elborians. So we find out that in their rules and their values, they will not go out of their way to take the thoughts out of somebody's mind. It's that mental, I don't want to use the R word, but I just, that, like, violation, I guess you could say, of taking that information without their permission. And Khan actually even says this at one point in the episode, that he's really surprised that Delmonda won't do this, even for survival, because if the rules were somewhat reversed, at least in the past, Khan would have taken whatever he needed to ensure the survival of his people, no matter what. Okay? We also find out that they can't always just necessarily take things out of people's minds. There are mental blocks sometimes that happen, and it seems like it happens from a lot of tension, a lot of distrust that builds up those mental blocks that maybe they necessarily can't read through. We also find out a little bit more about their history, that they left their planet because the leadership was starting to go against the values that Delmonda and his people held. And we also learn about their telepathic bond is called the Pandem, and that it's a collection of minds together. Kind of, I guess it's similar to kind of like the Borg Collective to some degree. But what we find out is that bond isn't strong with each individual. The Pandem only really functions very well if the minds are together. So the more Elborians that are in the Pandem together at that point, then they're stronger in their abilities. It's kind of like also with the Changelings as well in the Great Link. All right, so I'm wondering if that's going to be used to their advantage somehow for Khan in trying to cause chaos or cause problems with the Elborian community as the episodes go on. We also see that Marla is becoming a lot more comfortable being Khan's woman. She originally, for the longest time, didn't want to be Khan's woman. She wanted to be known and respected for herself and her contributions to the colony and to the colonists. But now that she's pregnant with Khan's baby and she's married to Khan, she's basically feeling that she's kind of like directly Khan's number two. Which, if you think about it, kind of almost contradicts and destroys that connection that Ivan has with Khan, because Ivan's his most trusted lieutenant. Now all of a sudden there's this person in between Khan and Ivan who's like person 1.5 who can now give him orders, who technically isn't an equal to the augment. She's just a standard human. And he's never seen her as an equal anyway. So, wondering if there's going to be some issue that's going to happen between Ivan and Marla as we move forward into the next few episodes. The Mado miscarriage, it's very unfortunate that happened. It would have been wonderful to have seen the baby being born, giving the colony a little bit of hope. But maybe that's what Khan and Marla's baby is going to be, is that symbol of hope for that and renewal and survival and moving forward. But Ursula's anger was certainly getting interesting. And if you go back to the last episode, when Khan and that initial reconnaissance group were trying to figure out what they should do, Ursula did not agree with Khan. She felt that they should have attacked. Ivan thought that they should have immediately killed the Elborians. Khan says, no, we need to monitor and see what's going on. Now we're starting to see a little bit of fire back from Ursula again. Now, obviously, that could be partly because of her grief over losing her baby, obviously, at this point. But she actually yelled and screamed back at Khan. And Khan actually took it, which was what I was really surprised about. Now, I'm thinking because Khan has been trying to be more understanding of the grief of the colonists, like we saw a few episodes back, maybe he let it go, and he didn't take it as a challenge to his authority. And she did back down. When he said he was going to leave and he said to attend to Mado, your beloved, she kind of whimpered, yes, Khan. Okay? But is this going to go somewhere? It kind of seems like Ursula and Ivan have a little bit of a same kind of idea of the way things should be when it comes to the Elborians. So are they going to form some sort of alliance here? Are they going to try to go after Khan? That's kind of what I'm wondering. Now, the Dr. Lear storyline. We finally get an idea. We figure out who this contact is with Dr. Lear and who gave her the original Marla MacGyver's tapes. We find out it was Delmonda. So he obviously left SETI Alpha 5. But the question is, did he leave on that little ship that he's building for Khan and his people? Did they have some other ship that they were able to take care of? Did Delmonda leave Ceti Alpha 5 by himself? Did he leave his people on the planet? Did Khan and his people actually slaughter the Alborians? You know, there's still 3 more episodes left here, so there are a lot of questions that are starting to come up. And how did he find Dr. Lear? Was it just some random meeting, or is there some sort of other thing going on here, or connection that we're not really aware of yet? So that's basically my review of episode 6 of the Star Trek Con audio podcast, The Good of All. I'd love to know what you thought of this episode, and also of my review of the episode. You can leave comments down below in the comments section. You can watch previous episodes of Pittsburgh's Trek Chat from its history and even through the other con reviews. You can go to youtube.com, type in Pittsburgh's Trek Chat in the search engine, and it'll take you directly to my channel. You can follow the show on Facebook, facebook.com/Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. You can also follow the show on X at PGH Trek Chat. Looking forward to the next episode. Until then, may yins live long and prosper.